I'm Liz, I manage the Guernsey Biological Record Centre. Then there's Matt, who manages the Alderney Biodiversity Centre, and at the end we've got John, who manages the Jersey Biodiversity Centre. So let's talk about the history of joined up recording. Many years of discussions. Most frequently we talk about the need to work together to share information, data, resources, etc. And as Roland pointed out, these discussions obviously are reinvigorated at Iems, and then there's a sort of spark and things tail off. But not this time. This time it was a recurring theme at the IIM in 2022. And then I think this is key. In November in 2022, there was an INS meeting, and they were talking about joined up strategic approaches to dealing with non-native species, and the idea of a formal data recording working group was raised. And I can't scroll down.
Two fingers on there.
Lovely, thank you.
Working?
I apologise, I am not good with maps. It's not working. I have my notes on my phone.
Sorry. I'll make it smaller and you've got more. Can you read those?
I've got my notes on my phone. I'll do my notes on my phone.
Okay. It's working.
Okay, thank you all for bearing with me there. So in December 2022, government representatives reached out to potential working group partners, and it was absolutely key that we had record centre managers and representatives from each island, and then we had our initial meeting in January 2023, and we discussed a huge number of things, including all the different website options available, because there's not one standard data recording platform. We talked about the challenges of data verification, because there's no point in us recording data if it's not robust and we don't have reliability. We discussed apps, cost model, challenges, timescales, and Guernsey is, as you all know, a little bit behind the other islands in terms of technology, and the Jersey website refresh. Then in February, we finalised the fact that we were going to go with two different models. So the Bailiwick of Guernsey were all agreed that wherever possible we want open access to data for a non-commercial licence, while Jersey will maintain their current model. And we want to follow best practice in terms of data recording. By the time May came round, the working group had actually come to a conclusion. We'd decided which website model we wanted to use, and it's a Drupal multi-site that has two public interfaces, one for the Bailiwick of Guernsey, because we were going down one data access route, and one for Jersey, because they're going down another model. But it will feed into one data warehouse. So we will have a Channel Islands data repository, which is just wonderful. All of the islands have to sign their own data sharing agreements with Indicia, and a memorandum of understanding for the working group was formally raised. By the time June came round, this is a major milestone. The formal commission of the Bailiwick of Guernsey site. We had a contractor to build the website, the branding, the theme, the site layout were all approved, and the initial funds authorised. Which brings us to August, which is the time at which the web developer had produced the colour scheme for the website. Design compatibility issues have been addressed. Guernsey will effectively clone the Jersey site, and our contractor who's built the website had produced a test site for us to attempt to break. We also had, all parties had a chance to provide input for the memorandum of understanding, which laid out who was responsible for what we were committing to make sure that we didn't all go off in different directions and everyone knew exactly what we intended to do. So that was distributed to all members of the working group for their final review and comment. We also agreed that we were going to formally present this at IIEM, which brings us to now, but we're also in the process of reviewing the final forms for the website. We're going to have official activities only on this website, but it will tie into Cirecord. So it means that recorders have the option to have their own activities still on Cirecord. And that's really important that we have this sort of two-way process, which brings us to now, where we are providing you an update. And John and or Matt will be reporting more on the next steps. So what does this actually mean? Are we becoming one record centre? Well, no. All of the record centres are working together, but we will remain independent. We are responsible for our respective geographic regions in accordance with the Association of Local Environmental Record Centres, ALERC best practice. So in effect, we have our own geographic area. This is ours. We work with each other, but we don't overlap. However, we are sharing things. We are sharing our knowledge. We will be sharing the branding from Jersey. We'll be sharing our resources and database. And this is so important because each of us has a different background, a different skill set. We all have access to a different pool of stakeholders, all with their own skills and talents. And it has taken a huge amount of work to get to this stage. It really depends on the cooperation and the agreement of a variety of different organisations, governments in different places with different laws, different environmental restrictions. And I have to say, it has been an absolute privilege to be part of this. I'm not going to talk any more, but I will hand over to John. So I wasn't quite sure who was going next.
Thanks for that, Liz. And yeah, I'll just start with something on Liz's slide there, just showing that we're going to be sharing branding. Just a bit of a sneak peek. So this was the branding work that was commissioned by my predecessor at the Jersey Biodiversity Centre, but it's now being made available for all the record centres to use if they wish. And the plan is to roll this out when our new websites are finished, so they're in development at the moment. This is just an early kind of mock-up of approximately what they might look like. This is the dark mode version, but there's going to be a light theme as well that people can choose if they prefer, a bit like you can choose in most modern browsers these days. This is a bit of a tough gig because it's very late in the day, we're in a warm room, and I'm about to talk about an IT system. So if anyone wants to close their eyes and drift off into their happy place, I won't be offended at all. But there has been a few conversations going around about our adoption of the IT system that we're moving towards, and all of us using it. So I'll just briefly touch on some of the reasons why we've chosen it and the benefits of it. It's called Indicia. It's not a finished product as such, it's more of a toolkit. And I suppose, to put it simply, the purpose of Indicia is to make it as simple as possible to build feature-rich biological recording websites. Make it as simple and cost-effective as possible. It's very, very flexible. It's got a range of tools that are available within it, and because it's an open source community owned project, any development work that happens on it is then made available to everyone to use, so you can clone bits and bobs of functionality and put them on your site if you want. The Jersey Biodiversity Centre has used this system since 2018. Alderney joined the party in 2021, and the Guernsey Centre are currently in the process of adopting it as well, having used their own bespoke system up until this point. Without getting too technical, it consists of two principal components. So there's the data warehouse. Now this does the heavy lifting, basically. This is where all the data is stored. It's the most resource intensive part of the system. And because of that, we're putting our data warehouse is being hosted by the Biological Record Centre in the UK, because they've got the server that can make it run effectively. The other component are the recording websites themselves. Now they're quite light in terms of their resource use, so you can sling them up on kind of cheap shared hosting and they work fine, because all that heavy lifting is being done by the warehouse. So here's an example of a recording website built with Indicia. So this is the current Jersey Biodiversity Centre site. And the forms you can make with Indicia, they can be as simple and easy or as complex as you need them to be. So this is just a casual record form that's up there at the moment. It's got all the usual fields that you'd fill in to make a biological record. All the things you normally see. There's also the option to add a photo. And if you want to, if you've recorded something that's sensitive, a sensitive species, you can tick the sensitive box and it will blur the record to a 10 kilometre square. So it shows you that was seen there somewhere, but it doesn't kind of give away the exact location if you need to do that. It's fully spatially enabled, so it can handle geospatial data, no problem. There's another version of that form actually that you can bung in a whole list of species for a particular place at a particular time, so you don't have to do them all one at a time. In terms of exploring the records that you've got in your warehouse, it makes it really simple and offers a lot of functionality as well. So there's all these filtering options along the top where you can filter the records. It can display them on a map. So quite often you can explore your records without downloading the data. But if you do want or need to, you can download them either as a spreadsheet or in the NBN Exchange format. So it's easy to get data out. I'll skip that one. So you can make really simple forms with this system, but also if you need to make a more complex form, so for example for a more serious long-term monitoring scheme, it's more than capable of doing that as well. So this is the UK butterfly monitoring scheme. They've been using Indicia for a few years now as well. So you can input all your transect data into there and it flows into the Indicia system. That's been rolled out across Europe as well now. It's also being used for a specific survey for the UK pollinator monitoring scheme. And there's loads of different apps. I'm sure you will have all used some of these at one time or another. These are all built with Indicia and they all flow into the system. And then Cirecord is the one that I think probably most of you may be aware of or may have used in the past. It's a general recording website for the UK. And now, thanks to some work by colleagues at the Biological Record Centre and the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, there's also links with other systems. So this is not built with Indicia, this is a completely different system, iNaturalist. It's really popular with people who are new to recording. You can go on there, put a photo of what you've seen, put what you think it is, and it kind of works on a crowdsourced approach. So people will come in and comment, actually, I don't think it's that, it's this. And it has some image recognition technology built into it as well, so that's really popular. But it exists outside of the Indicia system. What's happened now, it's got some limitations, and there's some hurdles, legal and technical, that need to be overcome to create a more seamless link. But now, providing certain conditions are met, records do flow from iNaturalist into Indicia. And if you use this, or you want to use it, and you want your records to flow into your local record centres, one of the conditions that's needed to make that happen is to choose one of the top 3 license options in the settings, and that enables your records to flow on. BirdTrack is another different system. This is really popular with birders and ornithologists, but you can record non-bird, you can make your non-bird records in there as well, and it's these records that are now flowing into Indicia where they can be verified. And I believe the plan is in the future to have the bird records flow out of Indicia to BirdTrack to be verified, because that's where the ornithologists like to hang out. So it makes sense for those records to go there. So you've got all these different apps and websites, all built for different purposes, but they're all flowing into the same system. So they're all flowing into a data warehouse. So that's going to be our Channel Island warehouse, and you can see on the screen there's the two websites that Liz was talking about. We have had lots of discussions about having a single website for recording in the Channel Islands. At the moment, I think because we've got slightly different needs, we're going to have two websites, but they're linked and they're all running off the same. They're both running off the same underlying warehouse there. Now, one of the major benefits of having all these different systems flowing into one place is facilitated the development of a single portal for verification. So verifiers for the various recording schemes can log in, and all the data from all these different systems that have been built for all different purposes, all the records end up in there where they can be verified.
We've got 4 minutes left remaining.
Another benefit is the ongoing development that comes along with using Indicia. Some of it's quite routine, just making sure it runs well, but some of it's a bit more exciting. So image recognition, it's already implemented in Cirecord, and it's getting better all the time. If anyone's ever played with any of this stuff, you probably know it's not infallible and it gives you some weird answers. But this is something that's receiving a lot of development. Data visualization is another one, so actually bringing the data in the system to life. So here's an example of the fit count, flower insect time count data from the pollinator monitoring scheme being displayed. But a really good example of this is the BSBI plant atlas, and if you go online, you've got loads of different options for displaying the data within the atlas in all sorts of different ways. And with that, I'm going to hand you over to Matt.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll go quickly, don't worry. So I get to chat about next steps, which is awesome. So we're here. Fantastic. Next step, really, coming in the autumn, we need to agree this memorandum of understanding between the record centres and government and others involved. Beyond that, we've got that test site now from our developer. We need to apply the branding that John showed you. Begin data migration, so data that is already in Indicia, so data that you've got on the Jersey Record Centre site and the Alderney one, that's all going to just be reserved to the new sites. But I think all of us have data that hasn't quite made it into those systems or are part of other recording schemes. So moving and beginning that data migration. And then hopefully, end of the year, this site, not fully with all of that data in it, will be up and open and accessible to the public, which will be really exciting. And then beyond that, there's that continued data migration process, and then also feature development. And that's where lots of you come in, because we'd really like to know what kind of features you're looking for, whether you're a practitioner or a policymaker or a recorder or a verifier of records, what you want from that. So potential things that might feed into that, things which come from this collaboration. So you've got things which are useful within each island, but common to all. So things like invasive species reporting. So you might have seen on one of John's slides with Cirecord, they've got this process already of looking at kind of targeting revisits based on when sites were last visited. And that's something that could be useful for our more sort of static invasive species and kind of targeting, are things there? Do we need to maybe resurvey or look at management there? But throw in a few more layers, things like wind conditions and movement, and you could begin to think about that for more mobile invasives as well. So that's kind of within each island, but common to all. But also, for our more mobile species, kind of data sharing and the benefit of this collaboration is that data is all going to one common place and it's accessible from the respective sites, meaning that you can look at those wide-ranging species and help to target survey effort between the islands. Lastly, John showed a lot of recording apps. This all builds from that Indicia system which Cirecord feeds into. So if you really want to, you can make your own Cirecord app or project on that, and that will feed through into that. So I just wanted to sort of highlight something. So future developments important for practitioners, for policymakers, recorders. And one of the things, John showed you some really cool data visualization. That's one of the things we'd be looking at doing. So kind of trend lines, but also for existing citizen science schemes. Often you get things like that, which Bailiwick Bat Survey people will know you get. Really interesting if you're up on your data. Not necessarily the easiest to explore intuitively. So one of the things I've been working on a bit recently, which is on our Record Centre website and will be shared more widely, is little kind of R Shiny apps to take that data and make it a bit more visual, so you can have sort of summary species for your species found. And this is actually a plot of activity throughout the night. So those are your green bars, number of recordings, and the backdrop is actually just how dark it is, really, phases of night. And also kind of histograms of how likely a recording is likely to be. And those kind of data explorers are things we can build in for all kinds of data that are coming into our records centres, and in a way that's useful for you if you're interested in how certain trends are happening, or just you're a member of a citizen science project and you want to know what happens. So to finish off, kind of local experts, what it means, data access. Hopefully, it's easier. John showed you all the different data flows. That's all going into a common place, and hopefully. In this year, it's going to have more agreements with other recording schemes and get more of that data coming through to a centralised location. So hopefully it's easier to access and view. Uploading sort of standardised forms, so once you get your head around those, it should be fairly easy and robust across different schemes to get your data in. Verifying data. Now this is the one where I can really go out to you. Loads of local experts here who know way more than I do for various different taxa. And actually, things that I record for the Channel Islands, we're lacking verifiers for lots of taxa. If you think you could participate, you can email the iRecord team a bit about your expertise, and they'll pass it through to a national recording scheme who will approve you. And that's not an exclusive thing. So if you sort of think, oh, I'm really keen on moths, but I wouldn't want to take that role and stop someone else. It's very inclusive. There's potential for lots of verifiers for different taxa. And without verification, records kind of get sort of stuck with our local record centres, and they don't necessarily flow to wider platforms like the National Biodiversity Network, and upstream of that, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which is a mouthful. So yeah, that's it essentially. In terms of going forward, we'd love your input on what you'd like to see. So please feel free in questions. There's also, to flag, we've got a workshop discussion for tomorrow on partnership between our islands and benefits of that. And I think that could be a really interesting topic to come out of that, what we want to see from record centres going forward. So yeah, thanks to all the different funders, all recorders, all verifiers for the amazingly hard work you do, and the different national recording schemes. And yeah, thanks everyone.